Crimson Cowl Comics and Collectibles. This is the Crimson Cowl Comic Club Podcast. The following issues may contain spoilers.
Wow, peanut butter and chocolate? How has nobody else ever thought of this? I'm Anthony.
I'm Kirby.
I'm Katie.
And I'm Jim.
Welcome to issue number 252 of the Crimson Cowl Comic Club Podcast. Each and every week, we meet here to talk about comic books. On this week's show, we have an action-packed segment lined up with a club discussion for Once Upon a Time at the End of the World number 2, as well as the penultimate issue of BRZRKR with issue number 11. Then we're going to jump over to the weekly reviews. That's where we go back and forth and we talk about the books that we've been reading, whether they're new, whether they're from 1993 starring a basketball player. We're going to talk about them here. So let's jump right into the show. We are going to do the club discussion for the second issue of the new debut series, Once Upon a Time at the End of the World. And this is issue number 2. The fable of a bleak future continues in Mace and Mezzie's childhood years, with nothing but Mezzie's guidebook and her skills as a wastelander to get them through their dangerous post-apocalyptic journey. As time passes and they endure the horrors of plastic tornadoes and frozen sludge, Mace proves to be more than just a burden, and they may make a connection where none seemed possible at first. But to their unexpected peril, they might not be as alone as they thought. This issue is done by Jason Aaron, Alexandre Tefenki, Lee Luridge, and World Design. All right, we did talk about this issue not too long ago as we were kicking off a new club discussion, post-apocalyptic world, where we met our characters of Mace and Mezzie. Mezzie is the one that's all kind of in gear and just kind of going through these wastelands and basically out there to survive, coming across a giant tower in which the character of Mace was basically living their best life, basically hanging out and with all the food and comfort and book pools, everything. This whole thing was all decked out, but both of these characters kind of leading extremely separate lives, both of comfort and discomfort. And once these characters come to meet, once Mezzie basically kind of got some nourishment and needed to take a little break, but she was ready to basically just get right back out there. But this is the moment we saw in issue number 1 where the character of Mace basically started forming a little crush from what we can understand and was basically excited for some adventure. And as we talked about, basically loaded up the Reese Witherspoon wild-sized backpack that just had everything that you could imagine, that was 10 times the size of their body, and heading out there. But Mezzie wasn't too happy with that. And that's basically where we kind of left them, with them kind of going to start this journey. The overview of this issue, we get a little tease once again about Mace's relationship with the parents and what happened to the parents and these audio tapes that they are recording. And we jump back into more of this adventure, basically, of Mezzie basically still wanted to be a solo mission here and basically trying to save their life and get Mace out of there. We do come up, we got some fun survival guide, basically a montage. We get a lot of discussion on just what these two are going to do, and then a little more of Mezzie's past and how that character came into this situation. So that is kind of the overview of issue number 2. What we're going to do is jump right into it, and I believe myself, Kirby, and Jim have all read this issue, if I am not mistaken. So we are going to jump right into it. Let's start over with Jim. What did you think of issue number 2?
I just want to know how you like your bowl of syrup, your syrup bowls in the morning.
Syrup bowls, I like them. I like them extra sticky and slow. I want that, just that drip, just to keep on dripping. So if I before it messes onto my shirt, it's still dangling there, and I got time to swoop it up.
I just had to think of Will Ferrell when I read that part, and it's like the 4 basic food groups for the elves. It's like, but yeah, I loved it. Yeah, the I think it's actually beyond a crush that he's got on Mezzy, but yeah. And I think it's starting, it's obviously starting that she is starting to at least, if not like him, tolerate him and even respect him a little bit, because she wakes up in the morning and has hot Pop-Tarts because he was able to build a generator that runs on swamp fumes.
And what and Mace keeps talking about these inventions, because not knowing that some of these things have exist, so these are referred to as tart pockets. So I'm sure that Jim Gaffigan in this future post-apocalyptic world is somewhere doing a little bit on tart pockets. So.
Yeah, and then there's another thing that I loved was he's been recording these messages to his parents. And every time he finishes one of these tapes, he says, "This is Maceo." And then he puts that's the panel. He puts the tape into a claw machine in reverse. He uses the claw to take it from the tray and put it into the bin.
Yeah, there's definitely, with what we got in issue 1 and this one, that we do see that these parents are basically kind of locked away, and we see them in the, like a skeleton form, basically.
Looks like,
just kind of in full embrace, and laying there in what I'm assuming is just a puddle of sludge. It's not a shadow, or basically looks like like a Rorschach test behind them. But yeah, there's definitely going to be some emotional reveals once we're just getting a little bit each time so far.
And then I particularly like the end. It kind of really changes the direction of the story. It gives it, we've had a really kind of a cute little bit of a teenage romance at the end of the world kind of thing going on until the end of this book, and then it really gives it a darker spin that's going to be, I think, really cool to see how that develops.
Yeah, they're pretty quick to kind of set these characters up on this adventure, and then bringing in these as they call them in the back here. So we had a little flashback, but we have the Wasteland Rangers, and we do get some kind of tease that Mezzy was basically in training, what I understand, kind of like looking for a survival on finding an oasis, if I'm remembering that correctly. So I'm sure there's going to be some more unraveling there, but they're basically now know that Mezzy's not alone based on the tracks that they found. So let's jump over to Kirby. Some thoughts on issue number 2 here.
Yeah, I like where it's going. It's keeping us up to date on learning a little bit more about each of our characters and learning more about her military background, well, Boy Scouts military, or who knows what it could be overall. And I thought it was interesting seeing the parents laying there embraced together, dead in the bed. I thought that the parents were off and just never came back. That's why he was talking prior. But yeah, seeing all the little things of her with her little scout book and the team after and stuff, and then all the problems that he's having, where she has to keep constantly saving his life. So, in a way, they're both kind of saving each other's lives with all the things that he can do, and introducing her to new things that she's never had before,
including cartoons.
She actually brings up the Christmas thing instead of him, which was
Yeah,
fun
there's-
for them.
Yeah, they're definitely finding that balance that, yeah, exactly what you said there, how they both are saving each other at the same time. So,
Yep. But yeah, I like these two together. I'm curious where it's going to go. I'm hoping it's not going to turn into where the military is actually hunting her down and going to take her away and all that stuff. But I'm sure it will. She got to have some type of struggle in the.
my
And
favorite part of, go ahead.
You can't go traipsing around the apocalypse without a string of Christmas lights.
My favorite moment, which would back up the fact that she's going to be doing a lot of the saving here as far as the survival and the tactics. There's a fun couple-page montage where basically she's asking him about skills and just saying, what kind of skills do you have to survive? And she goes and says she's got hunting and skinning and eating without puking and making socks from rat organs. I'm going to skip ahead here. Foraging, poison mushroom recognition, sleeping with eyes open. And then there's a string here that's my favorite part. Not dying, not dying, not dying, not speaking. And then later we have not tying as explaining there how to tie a knot there. So I was just having a hoot with that time there. That was pretty good. And then yeah, and then then Mace just mentions about some skills including pogo sticking, trash juggling, cloud watching. So yeah, there's in a very dire and bleak and all that stuff going on, and they found a really great way to make them kind of mad at each other while also being very humorous, and they're
And
trying
yet,
to follow.
he doesn't list any of his high qualities, like being able to take gas from garbage and make electronics work and all this stuff.
All this
Being able to
stuff.
finagle things all the time.
Yeah, all this invention creating and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with this. I was excited for it. Yeah, this is titled as a book 1, chapter 2, and I think it's being billed as what three books total. I'm not sure how many issues are per each book. If we're getting, it's a Boom series, so I don't know if we're looking at 5 issues. A lot of times they lean towards the 5, but yeah.
I am curious about this little military group. It looks like they got a bus that's like an aquatic boat bus or something like that. I'm curious what their equipment's all set up like, their vehicles. Because it looks like they got more than just the bus that's following them.
With the Wastelander people, are we talking?
Yep. Yeah, the ones that are following her.
Yeah,
Yes,
they call it the summer bus.
The Wasteland Rangers. Yeah, there's I'm liking the pace of it, and especially with them saying how many books this is going to be total, that this seems like it's definitely not like they put it out being like, hey, it's a success, let's do another 12 issues or something. It seems like there's a very well thought out beginning, middle, and end, and I think this pacing definitely proves that, because you could have, with how much we've accomplished in these 2 issues, could probably be dragged out even more, like Walking Dead style, when you just more so television show than the comic, where you just kind of, you can spend a whole season on just one single location or something. But I dig the pace. I like it. So cool. Any other thoughts for this issue before we jump over to the next one?
Just a couple more days for issue 3.
That's right. We are trying to get caught up. We were a little behind on getting to the first one, so we wanted to do this one as quickly as possible. That way, when the new one comes out, we can talk about it in a more timely fashion. But yes, that is Once Upon a Time at the End of the World, issue number 2. All right, it's time for one of my favorite issues in a series, and I'm not talking about just numbers and digits and all that stuff. But this is a penultimate issue of this series, and we are talking about issue number 11 of BRZRKR. A vicious battle returns us to where it all began. It's Cult Forces versus Black Ops as B travels to the metaphysical blue plane with Diana's help. And as the series approaches an explosive close, is B finally near the end of his fatal goal, or will his violent efforts be in vain? The mind blowing ending of this epic blockbuster series is nearly here. This issue is by Keanu Reeves, Matt Kent, Ron Garney, Bill Crabtree, and Clem Robbins. All right, we are nearing the finale. They do promise that it's out in March because they even put in an extra writing in the back with some back matter, and they're talking about giving us I think a triple sized issue. So it seems like we're going to be reaching this finish line hopefully sooner rather than later. Berserker number 11. We're dealing with how to explain everything that's going on here. Basically, Keanu Reeves' character, B, who happens to look like Keanu Reeves, is basically attached to this lightning and this connection with this bird and kind of connecting with, all this energy that's happening and kind of connecting with the past and all the stuff that the Caldwell guy has been testing. And we definitely see some of his motives finally in this issue of really what he's out there to do. But then Diana started getting in the mix. We had a couple issues back where she got struck by this lightning test when they were out in the field, and this one they start to kind of have a connection. We'll explore some of that. Just kind of talking about the overview here. But yeah, so it's a pretty quick read as far as just a lot of action happening, and it leaves us with, I think, what is pretty good for a cliffhanger into the final issue of with B making this journey this whole time of he's been living forever and he's just been wanting to be mortal and going through these tests and things like that and trying to find the answers of his roots and his origins and all that stuff. And I think it ends on a pretty exciting note just to kind of lead us into this eventual triple sized finale. But yeah, so that's the overview of this issue. And I think out of us here, it's just myself and Kirby. I will throw it over to you on your thoughts for issue number 11 of Berserker.
All right. The bird, well, that appeared when he grabbed the crown the first time, right? The bird crown type thing that he found that was his mother threw in a pit.
Yeah, I think so.
And then the other team that's taken down Caldwell or whatever his name is, that's B's old watcher that's controlling that group of characters, I assume.
This issue, while it moved pretty fast, there's a lot going on and a lot of players. And if anything, I was more lost in this one. So is this the one that when they kind of went on that one mission separately, like they focused on an issue, maybe halfway through?
He was always like the head guy that was always with B every time they went on a mission. Then he'd stay off to the side, and then he gave the orders to attack the Caldwell's group, and so he must have finally turned on him. And that is right, Caldwell. Right?
Yeah, so Caldwell is kind of the male scientist that's been kind of working with Diana, and Diana's been doing all like the testing and the interviews and stuff with B this whole time, but he's been pretty mysterious, and we see his ulterior motives here with all this stuff, all this power and energy of him trying to become a berserker as well is essentially what his goal is.
Yep. So yeah, it's definitely interesting watching them two in their little bird form trying to get their everything figured out, and then him interrupting everything and ruining it. It didn't really ruin it because what B was shooting for was mortality anyways. So
yeah, all the chaotic art and the coloring and the action, I think, has been solid all the way through, and there's just so much going on, and it's just jumping back from all these blues and these reds, and I just love the color balance going on. And that's been through and through, even in some. Oh yeah, here we go. This is what I was looking for, the splash page here. But just all that work is real gorgeous once they start playing with all that lightning and stuff. So but yeah, so we should we talk about this ending here? Oh, there's one point here. Because it looks like we're bringing aliens into the mix. Is that did I
Yeah.
read that right?
Yeah, they brought up the aliens thing, and I'm guessing that headdress could be an alien artifact, but
Yeah. So while B and Diana are in the sky and there's birds piercing through B, and they're connected by this electricity and kind of transferring this power or sharing the power, then we do just get just kind of a little inkling of this alien technology that is spreading, and so
yeah,
I'm go ahead.
they at one point about it activating everything, and it shows like those weird fetuses type
Hmm.
water children that have all deformities and stuff. So you can just imagine what they were working on.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of stuff happening, and once we get to that end of Caldwell basically all supercharged up heading towards B and Diana, and she's going to him, "You're bleeding, how do you feel?" And he goes, "Mortal." And then she drops an F-bomb because of the
And he's Caldwell almost looks like he's kind of computerized now because his body parts are kind of disappearing. So
yeah, he does. Yeah, he does kind of have
I'm curious what that has to do with it.
yeah, there's like I said, a very quick read, but just tons of stuff going on. And
And then we
Yeah.
get a nice little shout out from
Keanu and Matt.
Deanna and Matt talking
Yeah.
about the storyline, how they started it and stuff. So
Yeah, and just the back matter, and just kind of talking about, reaching this end, and then mentioning March 2023, and then saying how they were actually kind of hoping that maybe they could do more, and then they were given permission to triple size this final issue here. So, yeah, that's exciting. And they posted that as of November, so I'm hoping that that's it's been a decent amount of time. That's crazy to think that's almost a half a year. Once by the time March comes out,
Yep.
the issue that it'll be. So it seems pretty promising that we'll get that issue in March. So,
yeah, it'd be triple sized. So.
but yeah, just another entertaining issue. Just really kind of getting to the end point here, and yeah, I don't know what else to say, but other than
It's gonna obviously go on beyond this, so because they're already saying it's gonna leave us with questions and answers. So
I know they've talked about it. I think they gave us the update at Comic-Con in summer, talking about how I think it's going to exist as an animated series as well as a live action. Like they have multiple adaptations and things that they are working on, and that stuff is always touch and go, and you green light it and you shop it around. But we're getting the comic, at least with the delays in the comic. If anything, it hopefully gives them more time to, if they're getting it developed in an adaptation, that I would definitely be excited to see more. So cool. Well, I think we'll leave it at that then. That was the penultimate issue of Berserker. We will be hopefully finishing that in March or early April, depending on what time in March it comes out. And we'll make sure we'll get everybody who has read it. So I'm trying to think if Eric was reading it or was catching up on it. But we'll try our best to try to get everybody on board. And was Damon reading in the beginning? Do you know?
there was at least one other person that was reading it, but I can't remember who.
Well, Katie was reading it.
Yep,
Okay.
I plan to read it. And I think Damon did read a few issues, at least number one.
So yeah, I think next time we see Damon, I think I'm just gonna have to hand him. I'll contact him once and see if he needs to catch up on some stuff, because it would be good for the final issue to have everybody. We'll wait till everybody's on board for it. So.
Yep.
All right. And speaking of final issues and upcoming issues, we have other club discussions to tease. Once we get Eric back, I probably have Punisher 8 and 9 as back to back, so we can catch up on the Punisher series, Berserker number 12, Once Upon a Time at the End of the World number 3. I am waiting for my copy of Slowpokes 2. I did contact the creator, co-creator Steve Urena, as some of our other club members have gotten their copies, and as expected, mine is delayed just because I've ordered extra things, because I actually do appear in issue 2 of Slowpokes, so I think they're waiting on some can koozies yet. So so all my merch and everything that for Slowpokes 2, once we get it and get everybody on board. I know Damon did get that one too, so we'll get him back for that. But Slowpokes 2 coming in the future. And then the one shot of Archie versus the World, I believe, comes out next week at the time of this recording. So sometime in early February, we'll talk about that. I'm going to try to get Matt Fife back for that one because he is an Archie fan, and I'm pretty sure he pre-ordered that. And then Buffy the Last Vampire Slayer, which is a one shot. The one shot of Buffy. We talked about the Last Vampire Slayer as a club discussion, so that one's in the current catalog, and we're going to talk about that one shot, as well as the one shot of It's Jeff, number 1. Both of those titles were ushered into the club discussion thanks to our previews catalog. At the time of this releases, you may have a couple days left to finalize some orders, but it's going to be getting close. But yep. Previews catalogs, we covered all that, and that's where we picked up Jeff and some Buffy. So
I believe
right.
3 of us bought one of these books also from a local comic artist, and I didn't know if we were going to review them or not. I finally broke down and did a YouTube of them this weekend. But
yeah, you're holding that up, and I'm just like, why does that look so familiar? And yeah, we bought that, probably September.
Yeah, it was either Shrivel or Little Weapon, but I think it was Shrivel that was the one that everybody bought.
Yeah,
Yep.
I've got Shrivel and Little Weapon. I got them both sitting right behind me, actually. So now Damon got those too. So yeah, we'll have to get those organized as well. All right, and so yeah, that is going to do it for the club discussion. But we are going to move on to our next segment, which is the weekly reviews. And this is the fun part for our YouTube audience, where they get the behind the scenes of me, saving and taking a swig and saving the audio and setting up the files, all of this exciting stuff that you can only get here on the YouTube. None of the audio people are even going to hear this. They're going to get, just a condensed version of the podcast where we just take out all this random nonsense. So, but yeah.
Sometimes we talk about something useful.
All right, so hitting the old record on the audio, we are back and we're still recording video. That is all good. All right. Here we go. Welcome to the weekly reviews. I'm going to kick it off with a much anticipated title because it is from one of my favorite writers of the last 10 years. Kelly Thompson has jumped into Image with her first ever independent creator-owned series, and this is called Black Cloak number 1. Its Blade Runner style mixes with saga-esque drama in a delectable fantasy sci-fi blend as 2 black cloaks try to solve the murder of a beloved prince in Kiros, the last city in the known world, before his murder tips the city into war. The mystery begins in a spectacular triple-length first issue for just $4.99. This issue is done by Kelly Thompson, Meredith McLaren, and Becca Carey. All right. When I saw Kelly Thompson has a new series, she actually was releasing this through the Substack, but as most Substacks have announced that these things will see print, so I did hold off, and I was excited to pick it up in print, a triple-sized issue for $5. Debut independent series. She's done mostly Marvel work, and she's done some, she did a run on Sabrina over at Boom and has worked with other, IPs and things like that, and has done some graphic novels. But this is long awaited as a Kelly Thompson fan to pick up this debut Image series. All right, so knowing that I was already in the bag, I may have read the synopsis a couple months ago, but honestly, I wasn't paying attention because I love jumping into this world just blind, knowing that I trust this writer so much. And as I told her on Twitter, which she saw, I said, there's so much world building done in just the opening page here. And it's not even much talking, but you see this city. I will read this off because it might just be kind of a sell. This is the city of Kyros, and this is at dawn. The last city in the known world. Hundreds of years ago, there was a world ending war, but victory was snatched from the jaws of defeat. The great evil was vanquished. The kingdom was united in peace. It's not going great. Turns out beings get along better when there's great evil to be vanquished. Without the common enemy, it's an effing mess, and a-holes are all too plentiful. Even though we do have explicit warning on our audio podcast, I'm not sure what the rules are on YouTube, and I'm sure you could say whatever you want, but we'll just, I'll self-censor that. So yeah, you basically set up with that, and you jump right into this mystery. Overall, this story is about these black cloaks that are basically kind of like these detectives. This is a story about some like a mermaid washing up, dead on the beach. You've got these black cloak, which appear to be humans, are investigating. They later investigate this murder of the mermaid washing up, but they are called to action as they find out that this, I think it was a prince I mentioned. I just want to get the of a beloved prince. Yes, so a prince is murdered, and our main character, we find out, is I'm just forgetting the names right here, but the main character found out that they knew the prince since childhood and is actually an ex of theirs, and that is actually going to help them further on with their investigation as they kind of go back to this the royal palace, and we find out that our lead character has a connection with the royalty and has been sort of excommunicated, and is now just kind of out there being this black cloak and doing these investigations and stuff. So we do dive into this character's past with the royalty, and that is just going to leave a lot more for the future issues. But yeah, we just see a lot of world building going on in this first issue. It kept me engaged the whole time through. The art styles, while done by the same artist, we do kind of get different styles going on here. So here's some examples of what our main story is looking like, and those are our two main characters there, who are on their the black cloaks, and then there's basically some flashback pages where the art style starts to get a little different. It's sort of faded, it's light colored. And even some of the characters are kind of drawn in this like anime type of styles. You see, how the like the manga type of inspiration. So yeah, it takes and yeah, it's crazy just to see that it's all the same artist. A lot of times you'll get that, and you'll see another art team jump on. But yeah, Meredith McLaren does all the art and color work in this here. But yeah, this is a murder mystery set in a sci-fi fantasy world. Yeah, so I think that's the overall sell there. I think this will be more beneficial to kind of jump into it and let all of this world kind of introduce itself to you if you're at all interested in it. And I will say that they do get to the police department where these black cloaks are working out of. Essentially they are the police. But we do see some fantasy creatures and stuff like that. So there's a lot of interesting stuff going on in here, and just an excellent first issue. I'm super excited for more Black Cloak. All right, let's jump over to Kirby. What you got for us?
All right. I went back to 1992 and checked out Dark Horse Comics Presents Godzilla Classics #1. They did the color upgrade. They used to be black and white. They just made it the color version. And this is fun because you basically got Godzilla awakens, and you have the U.S. military out in the ocean trying to delay him or stop him, which that's not going to happen. And while he's doing that, you got the G-Force team which is the normal team from the Godzilla movies and comics, I believe, in the early ages, which had Kino Hayakawa, Dr. Riko Kagaku, Taki Fukuda, and Dr. Kazushi Kagaku. Shouldn't even try to attempt that, but I recognize a couple of the characters, so they must be the same ones that were from the original G-Force squad. But there's this island that kind of seen what technology can do with the nuclear bombs and all that, and they decide they're not gonna have any part of that anymore, and they live off the land and stay away from any type of electronics, any type of new age stuff. They want to stay back in the old times, and they have a statue of a Gekido Jin, which is basically a spirit or a demon type creature that they don't really worship, but in their lore. And what happens was, when he was part of the island and attacked things, one of their priests sent his spirit in to the samurai's body to fight the real samurai inside the statue, and he's been fighting with them for 3,000 years or whatever. He's stuck there forever unless someone else sacrifices themselves to go in and take over for him. And at the same time, Godzilla is coming towards their island. So they sit there and get worried, and they start praying to the statue. Someone offers to sacrifice themselves to take the other spirit out and get the statue to reawaken to fight Godzilla. And when all that stuff happens, it basically, the statue gets crushed by Godzilla, but then from the earth, a new creature is born. And every time Godzilla takes the creature down, he keeps coming back to life, and he keeps getting bigger and bigger until eventually they give him enough time while the G-Force crew is shooting a giant, a huge, like 3-story building sized dart into Godzilla's foot to try and get some blood and some DNA samples, some nerve samples from him. So that kind of takes his mind off the statue for a minute, so the statue can recover enough to grow to the same size as Godzilla, and then we have our big battle ensues, and it's just standard Godzilla fun, lots of things happening, and I always feel bad for Godzilla all the time because everybody's after him, and he's just like, damn it, I'm trying to sleep, quit waking me up. It's like he's leaves us alone forever, and then something happens with bombs or something like that, and it wakes him up again.
No,
but yeah, go ahead.
And you did mention that everyone's, there's at least somebody that's always after him, and you would think, it's going to be the military or scientist or somebody. And I was trying to think, like, all right, what if there was like a basketball player that would be like needs to have a beef with Godzilla? Do you think that happens at all?
Well, if you go back to 1992, there was a Nike television commercial in which a giant-sized version of an NBA player named Charles Barkley challenges Godzilla to a game of basketball in the streets of downtown Tokyo. And that commercial later on became a comic book. Godzilla versus Barkley.
Oh no,
It's
there goes
exactly
Tokyo.
First you had Jordan versus Bird, and now you got Godzilla versus Barkley.
It's as goofy as you would think. Godzilla comes to town, is gonna attack it, and we got some of the kids in the hood that are going to meet Charles, and Charles's people are just being rude to the kids, not letting them see Charles and all that. And then all of a sudden Godzilla appears. So the kid gets a little coin from his grandpa That's his grandpa says this is a special coin and it's helped him out in the military one time. All this. So the kid takes the coin and he wants to go find Charles, and he's going to give Charles the coin, and that's going to make Charles turn into a giant so he can fight Godzilla. Well, yeah, that happens in a way in here. And then instead of the two fighting, they end up playing a game of basketball, and Godzilla knows how to play basketball for some reason.
Does he have a sweatband on too?
Not when they play the original game, but later on they set Godzilla up with a nice little giant basketball hoop in the middle of a desert area. Gives him his own pair of brand new shoes that are size 3,000 something. So Godzilla could practice for their next matchup between him and Charles Barkley.
Wow.
So yeah, this was goofy as all heck, but yeah, it was fun just to relive, and I totally completely forgot it was a commercial until I read that online. It's like, but we had a lot of goofy stuff back in the 90s like that they did with the major NBA players and stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, and that was also by Dark Horse Comics, by the way.
Here I thought I was going to be able to go online and add this $2 issue to my cart or something, and the cheapest ones are around 30 or 40 bucks.
Oh, geez, I might have to put mine up for sale.
Yeah, we put it up for sale. I'll buy it for $5. No, but yeah, it's at least through my comic shop, it's there's a lot of copies there, but they're all no cheaper than $30. And then I just did a quick search on eBay, and it's the same thing. Someone's got it slabbed and everything. So yeah. That might be Barkley's first comic book appearance. That's a first appearance.
Yeah, for him, yeah, because Shaq was the one that was doing some of them earlier. So,
And did Grandmama ever show up in a comic book? That Larry Johnson's.
she was at least in a commercial, I know.
They showed up on Family Matters back in the day too.
Yep.
How about Lil Penny? Was Lil Penny, man? The '90s, they really. Like I don't follow basketball, post 2000s, but they had a lot of interesting gimmicks when it came to
Where's the beef? There's all kinds of interesting little commercials and stuff.
I never knew this existed, and it's excellent. So sounds great. Alrighty, all right, we're gonna jump over to Katie. What you got for us?
Okay, this week I have Sherlock, the manga, A Scandal in Belgravia, Part 2, Issue 1 of 4. This is adapting the TV show from about 10 years ago. Scripts by Stephen Moffat, adaptation by J, no last initial. Lettering is Amuna Salheen, and it's published by Titan Manga. So, little backstory: Scandal in Belgravia is the first episode of season 2 of Sherlock, and if you want the season 1 adaptations, those are available as well. Basically, it is a modern interpretation of the Sherlock and Irene Adler stories, wherein Irene is a professional entertainer that gets a hold of some state secrets and is kind of leveraging them to the highest bidder, and then some bad guys come after her, and Sherlock is contracted to try and get this information back, and then ends up having not really they kind of have a relationship, having a strong connection with Irene that we'll see how it plays out throughout all of this. So this is honestly scene for scene just adapting the TV show. Like, a lot of the shots are the same. They even managed to recreate a couple effects that I thought were pretty cool. All the characters look like they're actors. So Irene looks like Laura Pulver, John looks like Martin Freeman, and the dialogue is all the same. They haven't changed it. I used to be a huge Cumberbitch back in the day, and I watched this episode many times. it covers John and Irene's conversation pretty well, and then we see the break-in at Baker Street where the aforementioned bad guys are harassing Mrs. Hudson, and Sherlock puts a stop to that. Sherlock, of course, was played by Benedict Cumberbatch, and it looks just like him in the show. I feel like they sat down and just drew from cells of the show, but it looks really nice. It's very clean. And it has a weird ending. It ends on New Year's Eve, and we find that there is a visitor, an unexpected visitor to Baker Street, which is a pretty big plot point reveal. So I don't want to spoil that. But so the positives, I guess, are that, the art does look really good, and it's an extremely faithful representation to the original. The negatives are, okay, so I bought this because I saw it on Stan, but I should have actually just waited until the whole manga was out, because it started and ended in two, like, to me, places that felt very unnatural, especially because it's a part 2. So in hindsight, I should have just actually got the whole manga. And then it doesn't really do anything original, which, if you want just an adaptation of the show, like, that's perfectly awesome. Love that. But to me, it's like, well, actually, it's been a while since I've watched Sherlock, so maybe I'll just watch Sherlock instead of reading this manga. If you've never seen the show or you don't remember it, you will not be lost, because it literally walks you through the TV show. If you're not a huge Sherlock Holmes fan, I don't think you'll be lost, because they really did a lot of their own thing with the Irene Adler story. By changing her profession, they're modernizing it. So instead of having like stolen documents in a file, she has it on a phone. Why they insisted on calling it a camera phone, I would not have made that choice, because even when this show came out in 2012, most phones were camera phones. So we'd probably just call it a phone. But I think to drive home the fact that, like, what she had was like secret pictures and videos. Another positive thing is the motion and the kinetic energy of this comic is represented really well, so it doesn't feel stale. And they did a cool thing with presenting how Sherlock's thought processes work. If you've watched the show, they would put him visualizing things on screen, and they did that again in the comic, and I thought that worked really well. I thought it actually worked better in the comics than it did in the show. Anyway, I did enjoy it for what it is. It's, I have my critiques, but still fun. I have read all the ones from season 1 and really enjoyed those as well. A lot of similar commentary where it's pretty much a 1-to-1 adaptation, but it did, remind me I haven't watched Sherlock in a while, so I should probably do that. Anyway, that is Sherlock, A Scandal in Belgravia, Part 2, Issue 1 of 4 from Titan Manga and Comics. Check it out.
Cool. Yeah, when you introduced it and you said issue 1 of 4, I thought you said 1 of more, and I thought that was a fun way to like bill something, being like 1 of, who knows how long it's going to be. There's going to be more.
You know what? Actually, that would have been a much better idea than that mouthful of a title. And if you are a single issue collector, I imagine this numbering has got to just make you crazy, because so 1 of more might have been better than Part 2, 1 of 4, and you have to go and get. So I should mention Part 1 of A Scandal of Belgravia is contained already in a collected volume. Again, why they didn't wait to combine them, I'm not sure. Probably because manga operates a little bit different than Western comics, but to me that doesn't quite make sense. So yeah, issue 1 of more. There might be more, there might not be more. Check it out, and the game is on.
Awesome. Something I do want more of, but it was just a 5-issue limited series at this point. Damage Control. The synopsis that I'm going to read here is the overall synopsis for the trade paperback edition. So what I talk about is not really going to be any spoilers at all. If anything, it'll sell you on the trade paperback or the Marvel Unlimited read. This is Damage Control. Enter the secret labyrinth of Damage Control. After the mega-powered battles and Hulk-level catastrophes, Damage Control is always there to clean up the mess. But Damage Control is much more than just a glorified cleanup crew, and now it's time to pull back the curtain and reveal the secret inner workings previously only available to people with clearance level 8. Meet Gus, a fresh-faced, eager newcomer to the company who has no idea how chaotic his life is about to become. This is guest starring familiar faces including Moon Knight, Nightcrawler, and She-Hulk. This comic series is done by Adam F. Goldberg. There's a autocorrect here, so let me just open this up here. Hans Rodionoff, Nathan Stockman, Ruth Redman, and VC's Clayton Cowles. All right, I think we talked about issue number 1 when that came out towards the end of last year, but I had recently read issue number 5, completing this mini-series. This was so much fun. I mean, you have the creator of the TV's Goldbergs with Adam F. Goldberg, so it makes sense. It makes sense why this is just an expertly done comic book. And yeah, you're following this character of Gus who has his job. He's working at Damage Control, and each issue is basically him working in like a different department throughout the company, whether he's in the office or out in the field or in the lab, and he's just doing all of these different things because each issue things aren't going right. He just keeps running into troubles. There's, the series kicks off with, with him, something along the lines of him not, he's missing a letter in the mailroom that he doesn't deliver, and he just says like, "Oh, I can just get it tomorrow" or something, and that basically triggered this whole Skrull invasion that was going to happen until I think Quicksilver came in and took care of it. But so it's things like that where they just take these absurd concepts that in what seems like very meaningless jobs that he's thrown into, but then they actually have these huge repercussions if they aren't completed. So each issue just concentrates on a different field and bringing in different guest stars and introducing new characters, and going back on like classic Marvel plot lines of just saying like, oh well, this is where this person was back in a comic from the 70s or something. And there's just a lot of references that don't take you out of the issue. They just really further connect us in the Marvel universe more than it needs to be, in that sense, where they just have a lot of fun with it, kind of like the trying to think what the Brand Ek, the Not Brand Ek series that that Marvel did decades ago, where it's just like, all right, this is an official Marvel book, and it's just there for craziness. And the Unbeatable Squirrel Girl had that same kind of thing where it's just like, well, it's all part of the continuity and everything's being treated seriously, but they're not afraid to just go off the walls with the kind of comedy antics that they're putting on. This was just so much fun. I hope this did well for them, because I would love for this creative team to come back, not only for more Damage Control, because I think there's definitely a lot more room for further stories with Gus and Damage Control, but I would love to see this creative team take on different comedy aspects of the Marvel universe, and whether they do something with Shield or Sword, and doesn't it just have to be the organizations. But I think what would be very fitting is, it's been a couple years since we've had the Great Lake Avengers, and I think this creative team would knock the heck out of a story for Great Lake Avengers. So I am so on board for this.
Yeah. I'm all for that. I'd love to see them revive that.
Yeah, it's just tons of fun. If you got your Marvel stuff and you don't want to be steeped in continuity when it comes to just being like, well, I didn't read this tie-in issue, I didn't read this event, I don't get it. You don't really need to know anything about that. Just all the comedy, like this issue 5 in particular, puts them in kind of like an Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark warehouse type of situation, and comes across the head of the Bride of Ultron, which I just love doing, because that's been a character in the comics for a long time. But it was just great. I wasn't expecting the Bride of Ultron to show up in here, so there's just so much fun.
Yeah, I read the first 2, I think, maybe the third one, and I didn't get any after that because things that happened. So now I have the trade coming, so I'm looking forward to finishing that off.
There you go. Yeah, trade will be out soon. Over half the series is probably available on Marvel Unlimited. Highly recommend this if you are a fan of the Goldberg style comedy and just Marvel. Marvel in general. This is a great combination. That's Damage Control issues number 1 through 5. All right, what you got?
Lazarus Planet Alpha changed the world following the explosive, literally, events of Batman vs. Robin number 4. The Lazarus volcano has erupted, spewing dangerous and transformative chemicals into Earth's atmosphere. As these Lazarus clouds rain down upon the planet, people across the globe begin to develop strange new abilities. Watch their already extraordinary abilities change and witness a whole host of chaos unlike anything the DCU has experienced before. It's up to Damian Wayne to put out the distress call for whoever can still hear it. Come to the ruins of the Hall of Justice and help save the world. Poison Ivy, Power Girl, Cyborg, Batman, and more answer the call. But why could the fate of all life as we know it rest in the hands of the Monkey Prince? Because he's the best damn character in the DC universe right now. And they aren't using him in this issue, at least much. He gets to, I can't think of her name. He does get to hang out. Robin keeps him off to the side and he hangs out with this new gal. I want to say she's like Black something is her name, but they sit there and just hang out and shoot shit for a while everything's going on because he's being held off by Robin from the rest of the group that's out trying to deal with the demons and stuff that are appearing, the different powered characters and stuff. Well, yet they're losing some powers. But I didn't know this was going to be magical. And if I would have known this was all about magic, I wouldn't have even jumped on it. But I wanted to at least see where the Monkey Prince was going in here. And it's like, this is the first issue of the Lazarus Planet run. And the second one in the sequence is Monkey Prince number 10. That's kind of why I got this one. I don't think I ordered any other ones. But yeah, basically they used magic to cause the Lazarus volcano to happen, and that sent magic all over the world. So I have a feeling when this is all said and done, the magic's going to be taken away, and people that we thought were new characters are going to be put back to normal people or something like that. So I thought this was going to be a way to release way too many new characters into the DCU, but maybe that's how they're going to kind of dwindle them down a little bit in the end of all this, but we'll see what happens. But excuse me, you get that storyline for the Lazarus Planet, and then in the back of the book, because the Lazarus Planet, the main character that they're fighting against is called Nezha, or Nezha, and they have a little Nezha and the Monkey King story because they used to be friends. The Monkey Prince's grandfather used to be friends with Nezha back in the day, and Nezha was bad, was turned good by he was given a special sash that as long as he holds on to it, it keeps him in check. But when he gives that sash away, kind of gets that urge to be bad again. And you learn what happened with the Monkey King and Nezha back in the day. And I was kind of bummed because in the Lazarus Planet part of the story with the Monkey Prince, they didn't have Shifu in it, which is Shifu's guardian that's teaching him everything. And Shifu is basically a mystical pig type character from lore. And Shifu is also one of the guardians with the Monkey King back in the day. And he gives a body part to help out the Monkey King and all this. And it's a fun story. You got to check it out if you're into the Journey to the West story at all. That's part of the storyline. But yeah, this was interesting. I just didn't know it was magic based. So that kind of pulled me away a little bit because I was hoping we were going to have a bunch of new superpowered characters popping into the DCU that would be relevant in the future, but we'll see. Still might, never know.
Okie doke. I think that's Jim's cue to return to us because he was staying silent. He's got to read it, so there you go. All right. My next one and the last of my list here is an art book that I was very excited to see show up in the mail. I supported through Kickstarter from Paper Films. And this is, I gotta get the title here. Here's our cover. This is called Hot and Messy. The fabulous yet fairly foibled, classy, but often crude, delightful, with a delicate dash of dirty art of Amanda Conner. Awesome cartoonist Amanda Conner has released an art book, and through Paper Films, which is run by herself and her husband, Jimmy Palmiotti, who is an inker and writer in his own right, and they do a lot of successful Kickstarters. And when I saw there was going to be an art book for Amanda Conner, I definitely jumped onto that. So yeah, Amanda Conner, known kind of modernly for the kind of the reinvention of Harley Quinn, and has done a lot of Power Girl. Those are the two things that basically she is associated with. And this includes some of that, as well as other just concepts and other jobs that she's had over the decades. And what's really cool about this, and I got to be careful when I show this because it is a mature rated art book. So for our YouTube audience, I'm not going to show, certain things on here. But I can show the first page, which has this woman that is kind of looks like in a like an I Dream of Jeannie type of setting as far as just the design and the outfits and everything like that, the TV. But what they did is they left a blank screen for the television set here so that she could put her signature on personally for these books here. And kind of they always make these little like remark spaces on their covers. They've done that a lot for a lot of things. So if somebody can, purchase a remark or something, she can draw like a little sketch on the TV or something. But it's always cool kind of seeing that extra bonus that they allow there. So the Hot and Messy art book, one of the coolest things that I was excited to see is that it has a lot of kind words from creators that she has worked with, whether they be writers, whether they be inkers. Longtime colorist Paul Mounts colors a lot of her work. And then there's also something written here from Adam Faberman, who is a screenwriter from The Big Bang Theory, because they had reached out to Amanda and Jimmy for some original art that was going to go into the comic shop for a specific episode. So they actually commissioned work that was going to be used on the television show. And so they kind of have some words there from Adam, as well as Amanda's thoughts on being asked to do that and be part of the show. There's a Betty and Veronica commission piece in here. That is something that I won't be showing on the YouTube screen. But she does talk about, she goes, years ago, people would ask me if I ever received a commission request that was so crazy and outrageous that I would say no to it. I used to say, not yet. This is a really good example of that. Strangely, this is not the most outrageous commission request I've ever gotten. And it is a Betty and Veronica piece. And I just realized when I flipped it there we go. That's a little tease. I'm going to start holding the book like this. All right. Yeah, so this is, it's just an awesome collection, but I love all the different stories from these creators, just talking about how they've come to meet and work with Amanda Conner. And you got like Adam Hughes and Phil Noto. You got a lot of people that kind of contribute to this. So that was a bonus I wasn't expecting, but it's kind of cool hearing back how these collaborators have worked with her and have become friends with her, and they all have the same experience with her. I've met her a couple times myself on the convention floors and had some good conversations and autographs and pictures and stuff. So big time fan of Amanda Conner as well as Jimmy Palmiotti. And yeah, I'm trying to find any examples that I can I got some goodies that I can share, that some of the stretch goals and such. But yeah, I really thought I was going to be able to show a little more from the actual art book. So, and they got some stuff here. They got a red Sonya. I can show some red Sonya here. So they got a lot of line work and the inks as well as colored versions. So sometimes they offer both. They've shown some sketch the process of sketches. They've showed some of that. There's some Vampirella stuff. I can show this one here. There's a nice Vampirella one there celebrating some Halloween. So yeah, it's tons of fun, and there's a lot, quote unquote, lost story of Betty Page that she drew as well. So it's a several page Betty Page story, and yep, I think that'll be it. I'll talk about that. So that is the Hot and Messy art book collection, and with the tier that I got a couple of the goodies. And I think I can show all of the goodies. Let me just double check here. I can show almost all of them. There's a cool sticker set. You got the Pro, the character of the Pro that we're hoping to talk about, and a couple of us got the graphic novel for. There's that, and that's all I can show there. But it's a cool sticker set. They're always big on having the certificate of authenticity for autographs and such, and dealing with CGC and all that kind of stuff. So they always make sure all your products have the certificates there. And then there's what I assume are 3 random prints. I don't know if they're tied to anything or if they're from comics or just original ideas, but they're just cool, like 007 type of pin up here called Fry Another Day. So they got some characters standing there, and it looks like, a bunch of like candy and donuts and icing, and just, yeah, they're just making the donuts, as John Suntress would say. But this time literally making donuts. I'll save this one for last here. There's another one that's called With Bated Breath, which is this a pretty sexy mermaid jumping out and kissing a fisherman there on a boat. So that was a cool little print that was included. Once again, I think these are just, I don't know if they're just random things, just originals, because I don't think they're tied to anything. And then this one has a great pun. It's called A Sight for Sore Eyes, as in dinosaur, as this dinosaur is looking at the cave person there, not on a big, turkey chicken leg type of deal, and rack of ribs there over an open fire, and they just call it A Sight for Sore Eyes. So yeah, there's a bunch of cool prints that were included there. I think there was a trading card in there too, but yeah, a lot of fun stuff, and she had a lot of fun finally getting to do an art book. I'm pretty sure this is the first one that she's come out with, and crossing the fingers that they do more, because paper films over at Kickstarter, I'm fairly certain that everything they do is highly successful at this rate, and they're well known for their successful Kickstarters and how to run that, and as far as getting the fun stretch goals and getting it out there to everybody. So if they do another volume of this Hot Messy sketchbook, I will definitely jump on for another one. All right. Kirby, what you got there?
I got another Monsters of Metal. This one's Krampus in Concert. Written by director and visual effects artist Jason Howden and Lexi Leon, Monsters of Metal takes iconic creatures on the road as a heavy metal band in this riotous send-up of life on tour. This time out, our favorite metalheads cross paths with the dreaded Krampus. I like these. They are $6.66 every issue, I've noticed. They're keeping standard with that. This one's a one-shot, obviously. And Krampus is kind of ticked off. It's like the gang of monsters, the band of monsters, are sitting there and putting a new album together. And at the same time, Krampus came out and said to the pumpkin character that is the lead guitarist of the band, Krampus is blaming him for stealing Krampus's songs and just changing the names and using the same melodies and everything. So Krampus is like, well, either drop the songs or give me billing for them or whatever. Otherwise, I'm going to give you 12 days of hell for Christmas. And that's pretty much what he does. Every day they get tortured in a different way. Something happens and the poor manager gets terrorized by a deer in the studio. One guitarist, his hands turn to gingerbread. I mean, all kinds of things happen. I don't want to ruin them all for you. But basically, you go through 12 days of torture, and they got to decide what they're going to do in the long run. If they're going to, I mean, half the bands, well, most of the band, other than Pumpkinhead, is pretty much like, let's give Krampus a shot. Let's put him in the band. Let's give him billing. Let's do this, that. But he doesn't want to give up anything. So they fight with each other throughout here. And it just causes the other members to get all kinds of other types of torture throughout the storyline. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. These books have been great. They've been doing a lot of one-shots with them. And I think they should just go ahead and do a full-out run with the comic and just add these into it. But I like all the characters. I like the way they're making the storyline. It started out a little iffy, like the monsters were coming out to the normal world and they were going to end up getting hunted down and stuff. But now it looks like they're being accepted more, and they obviously got their own album coming out. So someone's listening to their stuff. So. But this one, sadly, I'm waiting for them to come out with some type of playlist or something to go with this, like the rest of the music comics have been doing. But hopefully we'll see something in the future when they do a compilation or something like that. But yeah, these are a lot of fun. This is a fun little Christmassy one. So.
Cool. All right. Well, that is going to do it then for our show. The last two episodes we've had were pretty extra sized with our 250th celebration, and then last week we had Matt Fife of Happy Astronaut on. So we're going to rein it in here for a sort of a normal sized episode. All right, as I get my screens in order here, we have some plugs. Speaking of Happy Astronaut, you can listen back to episode number 251 from last week, and you can find a link for happyastronautcomic.gumroad.com. And that is without the www. It's with the https://. That does make a difference, but happyastronautcomic.gumroad.com. We have a website for Crimson Cowl, which is crimsoncowl.com. And currently, right now, Tales from the North, which is a free ongoing anthology series that's created by David Lloyd II. It is a dark fantasy comic based on the setting of his RPG campaigns. Chapters 1 and 2 are currently available right now for free, and that is on crimsoncowl.com. We also have an email if you want to reach us through with some questions or comments, letters page, submissions, things like that. Crimson Cowl Comic Club at yahoo.com. Then you can find us on YouTube. You can subscribe and like and hit the bell and share and all of that stuff. We're in a testing phase for some more video versions of this very podcast. Crimson Cowl Comic Club on YouTube. Hit the old subscribe button there and like and all that stuff. Then you can find us on Instagram, The Crimson Cowl, all one word. That is now over on Instagram. Of course, subscribe to us on iTunes, Crimson Cowl Comic Club on iTunes. Rate and review and like and share and tell a friend, tell an enemy, all of that stuff. There is a spinoff podcast that Kirby runs called Under the Cowl of MS. Can you give a little plug on what that podcast is and what you got coming up or what came out this week?
Yeah, we got separate segments now for MS and health stuff, comic book stuff, shop reviews, entertainment related stuff, movies, whatever. This weekend, probably today, tomorrow, and Monday, I'm thinking there's going to be 3 new videos coming up that I have done. I just got to put them out. Those will be on YouTube, so check out our YouTube channel. Same name. Everything's under the Cowl of MS. So yeah, more and more stuff coming out every week, changing things up.
Excellent. All right. So, yep, those are all your plugs, and go and follow and engage with all of those channels all across the internet for both of these podcasts. That is going to do it for this week's episode. This whole time, my glorious destiny was to get two robots to mash metal parts.
I've been playing basketball with Godzilla and Krampus on Lazarus Planet.
I've been staying alive.
Oh no, there goes Tokyo.
To
I
be
Godzilla.
continued.